नमो
Yes.
भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 13. Further talks between King Rahugana and Jadabharata. ब्राह्मण उवाच दुरत्ययेऽध्यवन् अजया निविष्टितो रजस्तमसत्त्वविभक्तकर्मदक् स एषा सार्थोऽर्थपरः परिभ्रमं भवाटवीं याति न शर्म विन्दति. Jadabharata, who had fully realized Brahman, continued, my dear king Rahugana, the living entity wanders on the path of material world, which is very difficult for him to traverse, and he accepts repeated birth and death. Being captivated by the material world under the influence of the three modes of material nature, Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, and Tamaguna, the living entity can see only the three fruits of activities under the spell of material nature. These fruits are auspicious, inauspicious, and mixed. He thus becomes attached to religion, economic development, sense gratification, and monistic theory of liberation, merging with the Supreme. He works very hard day and night, exactly like a merchant who enters a forest to acquire some articles to sell later for profit. However, he cannot really achieve happiness within this material world. यस्यामिमेषन् नरदेवदस्य वः सार्थ विलुप्मन्ति कुनायकं बलात् गोमायवो यत्र हरन्ति सार्थिकं प्रमत्ताविश्य यथोरणं वृकाः. O King Rahugana, in this forest of metal existence there are six very powerful plunderers. When the conditioned soul enters the forest to acquire some material gain, the six plunderers misguided him. Thus, the conditioned merchant does not know how to spend his money, and it is taken away by these plunderers, like tigers, jackals, and other ferocious animals in a forest that are ready to take away a lamb from the custody of its protector. The wife and children enter the heart of the merchant and plunder him in so many ways. प्रभूत वीरुत् तृणगुल्मगह्वरे कठरो कठरो दंशैर्मशकैरुपद्रुतः क्वचिन्तु गन्धर्वपुरं प्रपश्यति क्वचित् क्वचित् चाशु रयोल्मुखः क्रहम्. In this forest there are dense bowers composed of thickets of bushes, grass, and creepers. In these bowers the conditioned soul is always disturbed by cruelly biting mosquitoes, envious people. Sometimes he sees an imaginary palace in the forest, and sometimes he is bewildered by seeing a fleeting find or ghost which appears like a meteor in the sky. Nivasatoya द्रविणात्मबुद्धेस् ततस्ततो धावति भो अत्तव्याम् क्वचिच्च वात्योत्थित पांसु धूम्र दिशो न जानाति रजस्विका विलाक्षः. My dear king, the merchant on the forest path of the material world, his sorry, my dear king, the merchant on the forest path of the material world, his intelligence victimized by home, wealth, relatives, and so forth, runs from one place to another in search of success. Sometimes his eyes are covered by the dust of a whirlwind, that is to say, in his lust he is captivated by the beauty of his wife, especially during her menstrual period. Thus, his eyes are blinded and he cannot see where to go or where what he is doing. Adrishya jihla svanakarnasula ulukavagbir व्यतीतान्तरात्मा अपुण्यवृक्षान् श्रयते क्षुधारितो मरीचतोयानि अभिधावति क्वचित्. Wandering the forest of the material world, the conditioned soul sometimes hears an invincible cricket making harsh sounds, and his ears become very much aggrieved. Sometimes his heart is pained by the sound of owls, which are just like the harsh words of his enemies. Sometimes he takes shelter of a tree that has no fruits or flowers. He approaches such a tree due to his strong appetite and thus he suffers. He would like to acquire water, but he is simply illusioned by a mirage and he runs after it. क्वचिद् वितोया शरतो भियाति परस्परं चालशते निरन्दः निरन्दः आसाद्य धावत् क्वचित् अग्नितप्तो निर्विद्ये क्व च यक्षैर्हृतासुः. Sometimes a conditioned soul jumps into a shallow river, or being short of food grains, he goes to beg food from people who are not at all charitable. Sometimes he suffers from the burning heat of household life, which is like a forest fire, and sometimes he becomes sad to have his wealth, which is as dear as life, plundered by kings in the name of heaven or heavy income taxes. शूरैर्हृतस्वः क्व च निर्विघ्नचेता सोच विमुह्यन् उपयाति कश्मलम् क्वचिच्च गन्धर्वपुरं प्रविष्टः प्रमोदते निर्वृतवन् मुहूर्तम्. Sometimes, being defeated or plundered by a superior, powerful agent, a living entity loses all his possessions. He then becomes very morose and lamenting their loss. He sometimes becomes unconscious. Sometimes he imagines a great palatable palatial city in which he desires to live happily with his family members and riches. He thinks himself fully satisfied if this is possible, but such so called happiness continues only for a moment. Chalan क्वचित् कण्टकः सर्कान्ग्रहे नगारुरुक्षुर्विमना इवास्ते पदे पदे अभ्यन्तर विनिन्दार्तितः कौटुम्बिकः कौटुम्बिक sorry कौटुम्बिकः क्रुध्यति वै जनाय. Sometimes a merchant in the forest wants to climb the hills and mountains, but due to insufficient footwear, his feet are pricked by small stones, fragments, and by thorns on the mountain. Being pricked by them, he becomes very aggrieved. Sometimes a person who is very attached to his family becomes overwhelmed with hunger, and due to his miserable condition, he becomes furious with his family members. क्वचिन् निगीर्णो अजगार अजगा अजगरा अजगराहिना जनो न वैति किञ्चिद् विपनेऽपि विद्धः दष्टः श्मसेते क्व च दण्डसूकैर्अन्धोऽन्धकूपे पतितस्तमिश्रे. The conditioned soul in the material forest is sometimes swallowed by a python or crushed. By such a time, he is left lying in the forest like a dead person, devoid of consciousness and knowledge. Sometimes other poisonous snakes bite him. Being blind to his consciousness, he falls down into a dark well of hellish life with no hope of being rescued. कर्हिस्मचित् क्षुद्ररसान्विचिन्वंस् तन्मक्षिकाभिर्व्यतितो विमानः तत्रातिकृच्छ्रात् प्रतिलब्धमानो बलाद् विमुप्लन्ति अतः तं ततोऽन्ये. Sometimes, in order to have a little insignificant sex enjoyment, one searches after debauched women. In this attempt, one is insulted and chastised by the woman's kinsmen. This is like going to take honey from a beehive and being attacked by the bees. Sometimes, after spending lots of money, one may acquire another woman for some extra sense enjoyment. Unfortunately, the object of sense enjoyment, the woman, is taken away or kidnapped by another debauchee. क्वचिच्च शीतातपवातवर्ष प्रतिक्रियां कर्तुम् अनीशयास्ते क्वचिन्मितो विपणन् यच्च किञ्चित् विद्वेषं मृच्छति उत सात्यात्. Sometimes the living entity is busy counteracting the natural disturbances of freezing cold, scorching heat, strong wind, excessive rainfall, and so forth. When he is unable to do so, he becomes very unhappy. Sometimes he is cheated in business transactions one after another. In this way, by cheating, living entity creates enmity among themselves. Kvachit kvachit kshina dhanastu tasmin sayyasana sthana viharahina yachan parad apratikalabda kamaham parakya drishti labate vimanam. On the forest path of material existence, sometimes a person is without wealth and due to this does not have a proper home, bed, or sitting place, nor proper family enjoyment. He therefore goes to beg money from others, but when his desires are not fulfilled by begging, he wants to borrow or steal the properties of others. Thus, he is insulted in society. Anyonya vitta vyatisanga vriddha vairanu विवहन्वितश्च अध्वन् अध्वन्य अमुष्मिन् उरुकृच्छवित्त बाधोपसर्गैर्विहरन् विपन्नः. Due to monetary transactions, relationships become very strained and end in enmity. Sometimes the husband and wife walk on the path of material progress, and to maintain their relationship, they work very hard. Sometimes, due to scarcity of money or due to diseased conditions, they are embarrassed and almost die. तां विपन्नान् सहि तत्र विहाय जातं परिगृह्य सार्थः आवर्ततेऽध्यापि न कश्चिदत्र वीराध्वनः पार उपैति योगम्. My dear king, on the forest path of middle life, first a person is bereft of his father and mother, and after their death he becomes attached to his newly born children. In this way, he wanders on the path of material progress and is eventually embarrassed. Nonetheless, no one knows how he get out of this. None, sorry. Nonetheless, no one knows how to get out of this, even up to the moment of death. मनस्विनो निर्जितदिग्गजेन्द्रा ममेति सर्वे भुवि बद्धवैरा मृदे शयीरन्न तु तद्व्रजन्ति यन्यष्टदण्डो गतवैरभियाति. There were and many political and social heroes who have conquered enemies of equal power. Yet, due to their ignorance in believing that the land is there, they fight one another and lay down their lives in battle. They are not able to take up the spiritual path accepted by those in the renounced order. Although they are big heroes and political leaders, they cannot take the path to the spiritual realization. प्रसज्जति क्वापि तत् लता भुजाश्रयस् तदाश्रया व्यक्त पदद्विजस्पृहा क्वचित् कदाचित् धरिचक्रतस्तस्त्रशन् सख्यं विदत्ते बककन्क गृध्रैः गृध्रैः. Sometimes the living entity in the forest of material existence takes shelter of creepers and desires to hear the chirping of the birds in those creepers. Being afraid of roaring lions in the forest, he makes friends with cranes, herons, and vultures. तैर्वञ्चितो हंसकुलं समाविशन् अरोचयन् शील उपैति वानरान् तज्जातिरासेन सुनिर्वृतेन्द्रियः परस्परो द्वाक्षण विस्मृतावधिः. Being cheated by them, the living entity in the forest of material world tries to give up the association of these so-called yogis, swamis, and incarnations and come to the association of real devotees. But due to misfortune, he cannot follow the instructions of the spiritual master or advanced devotees. Therefore, he gives up their company and again returns to the association of the monkeys who are simply interested in sense gratification and women. He derives satisfaction by associating with gratifiers and enjoying sex and intoxication. In this way, he spoils his life simply by indulging in sex and intoxication. Looking into the faces of other sense gratifiers, he becomes forgetful and thus approaches death. द्रुमेषु रंश्यन् सुतदारवत्सलो व्यवायदीनो विवसः स्वबन्धने क्वचित् प्रमादात् गिरिकन्दरे पतन् वल्लीं गृहीत्वा गजभीत आश्रितः. When the living entity becomes exactly like a monkey jumping from one branch to another, he remains in the tree of household life without any profit but sex. Thus, he is kicked by his wife just like the he ass. Unable to gain release, he remains helplessly in that position. Sometimes he falls victim to an incurable disease, which is like falling into a mountain cave. He becomes afraid of death, which is like the elephant in the back of that cave, and he remains stranded, grasping at the twigs and branches of the creeper. अतः कथञ्चित् स विमुक्त आपदः पुनश्च सार्थं प्रविशत्यार अरिन्दमा अध्वन्य अमुष्मिन् अजया निवेशितो ब्रह्मञ्जनोऽद्यापि न वेद कश्चन. O killer of enemies, Maharaj Rahugana, if the conditioned soul somehow or other gets out of this dangerous position, he again returns to his home to enjoy sex life, for that is the way of attachment. Thus, under the spell of Lord's material energy, he continues to loiter in the forest of material existence. He does not discover his real interest even at the point of death. रहुगणत्वम् अपि ह्यध्वनोऽस्य सन्न्यस्तदण्डः दण्डः कृतभूतमैत्रः असज्जितात्मा हरिसेवयासितं ज्ञानासीम् आदाय तरातिपारम्. My dear King Rahugana, you are also a victim of external energy, being situated on the path of attraction to material pleasure, so that you may become an equal friend to all living entities. I now advise you to give up your kingly position and the rod by which you punish criminals. Give up attraction to the sense objects and take up the sword of knowledge sharpened by devotional service. Then you will be able to cut the hard knot of illusory energy and cross to the other side of the ocean of nescience. राजोवाच अहो नृज जन्मखिल जन्मशोभनं किं जन्मभिस्त्व अपरैरपि अमुष्मिन् न यदृशीकेश यशः कृतात्मनां महात्मनां वः प्रचुरः समागमः. King Rahugana said, this birth as a human being is the best of all. Even birth among the demigods in the heavenly planets is not as glorious as birth as a human being on this earth. What is the use of the exalted position of a demigod in the heavenly planets due to profuse material comforts? There is no possibility of associating with devotees. न ह्यद्भुतं त्वच्चरणाब्जरेणुभिर्हतां हसो भक्तिरधोक्षजे मला मुहूर्तिकाद्यस्य समागमश्च मे दुस्तर्कमूलापहतो विवेकः. It is not at all wonderful that sometimes that simply by being covered by the dust of your lotus feet, one immediately attains the platform of pure devotional service to Adhokshaja, which is not available even to great demigods like Brahma. By associating with you just for a moment, I am now freed from all argument, false prestige, and lack of discrimination, which are the roots of entanglement in the material world. Now I am free from all these problems. Namo Maha Namo Mahabhyostu Namah Sishubhyo Namo Yuvabhyo Namah Avatubhyah Ye Brahmana Gam Avadhuta Lingas Charanditebhya Shivamastu Rajñam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the great personalities, whether they walk on the earth's surface as children, young boys, avadhutas, or great brahmanas. Even if they are hidden under different different guises. I offer my respects to all of them. By their mercy, may there be good fortune in the royal dynasties that are always offending them. Shri Sukha Uvacha इत्येवम् उत्तरा माता सवै ब्रह्मर्षिसुता सिन्धुपतया आत्मसतत्वं विगणयतः परानुभावा परम कारुणिक कारुणिकतयोपदिश्य रघुगणेन सकरुणम् अभिवन्दिता चरण आपूर्णार्णव इव निर्भृत करणोर्मि आशयो धरणीम् इमां विचाचार. Sri Sukadeva Goswami continued, My dear king, O son of Mother Uttara, there were some waves of dissatisfaction in the mind of Jadabharat due to his being insulted by King Rahugana, who made his who made him carry his palanquin, but Jadabharat neglected this, and his heart again became calm and quiet like an ocean. Although King Rahugana had insulted him, he was a great Paramahamsa. Being a Vaishnava, he was naturally very kind hearted, and he therefore told the king about the constitutional position of the soul. He then forgot the insult because King Rahugana pitifully begged pardon at his lotus feet. After this, he began to wander all over the earth just as before. सौवीरपतिरपि सुजनसमवगत परमात्मा सतत्व आत्मनि अविद्यादा अविद्यद्यारोपितां च देहात्मा मतिं विससर्ज एवं हि नृपा भगवद् आश्रिताश्रितानुभवाः. After receiving lessons from the great devotee Jadabharata, King Rahugana of the state of Sauvira became completely aware of the constitutional position of the soul. He thus gave up the bodily conception completely. My dear king, whoever takes shelter of the servant of the Lord is certainly glorified because he can without difficulty give up the bodily conception. राजा उवाच यो ह वा इह बहुविधा महाभागवता त्वया विहित परोक्षेण वचसा जीवलोका भवाब्बा स हि आर्यमनीषया कल्पिता विषयो नाञ्जसा अव्युत्पन्नलोक समधिगमः. Sorry. अथ तत् एवैतद् दुरवगमं समवेतानुकल्पेन निर्देश्यताम् इति. King Parikshit then told Shukadeva Goswami, My dear Lord, O great devotee sage, you are omniscient. You have very nicely described the position of the conditioned soul who is compared to a merchant in the forest. From these instructions, intelligent men can understand that the senses of a person in the bodily conception are like rogues and thieves in that forest, and one's wife and children are like jackals and the ferocious animals. However, it is not very easy for the unintelligent to understand the purport of this story because it's very difficult to extricate the exact meaning from the allegory. I therefore request Your Holiness to give the direct meaning. This is what we will discuss. So, all what allegories we have just gone through will be covered in the next session. But we could definitely very briefly go through what is highlighted in this part of um, this chapter. Okay. Okay. Everyone ready?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Mhm. Yeah, I was just quite eager because there's so much in purports, because these kind of purports are very valuable because it helps us to understand what is our position with a lot of examples. And so this chapter is saying we are in the chapter 13, right? Yep. One sec. Yes, we are in the 13th chapter. So so yes. So this Brahman Jadabharat is speaking to the king. So this is very. Can you guys hear me? I don't know why.
Yes,
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 Prabhu.
Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. You can hear me now, right?
Yes.
It's. Do you see any difference actually?
Yeah, the previous one was better. The
Was
audio
better.
quality. Yeah.
Okay. Because now I'm using the Rode. Before it was not. It was my laptop mic. So is it not
Okay.
good?
I mean, it's
Mm,
audible.
it's good as well.
Okay. Okay. So here we can see that Brahman community is always a beacon light for the Kshatriya community. Kshatriyas cannot simply say, hey, now I am a president, now I am a prime minister, now I am a ruler, I am a, what do you call this? Uh, Corporator. Yeah, so many names are there. Are just kind of, these are all headings. Yeah, to be heads of something. Just like in a hierarchical company, we can see someone is a engineer, then senior engineer, and then executive engineer, then deputy. I don't know, so many hierarchies in just engineering. Then comes lead, then comes manager, then comes um, in the banking sector. There are managers are addressed as, anyone knows what are they called? Vice presidents. So, and then deputy general managers. Oh, so much hierarchy. Yeah, but still there should be a advisory board. Without advisory board, it doesn't go. So here Jadabharat is telling, yeah, my dear Rahugan, the living entity wanders on the path of material world. This is what, which is very difficult for him to traverse. We think that being in the material world is a catwalk, yeah, because day by day we are advancing, and the advancement helps us to attain happiness. Whatever once upon a time happiness was one getting like after very hard working of 30 days. Yeah, you remember traditional way was that everyone by working very hard, saving everything, and just on the Jan 1st, Feb 1st, March 1st, whatever, that is the time where someone takes a small break from hard work, hardship, and then enjoy. No, no, we have advanced. Yeah, we get every, yeah, if someone has invested into share market or into whatever investments or whatever businesses. Now everyone is becoming an entrepreneur, right? Entrepreneurship is very normal now. So in that way, we may think we are enjoying more. No, it becomes more and more difficult. The more and more facilities we are exposed, the more and more struggle we have to go through to detox it. Detoxification is such a big problem now because we have polluted our mind, polluted our heart, polluted our senses to that extent that if we want to change, people will say, "Hey, come on, in which times are you? You can't go back. You just try to go forward." Hmm? So in the purport, Prabhupada mentioned he works, yeah, a jiva like us are working very hard day and night, exactly like merchant who enters a forest to acquire some articles to sell later for profit. However, he can't realize achieve what is the main purpose. In the purport, last line, Prabhupada mentions that we may think that this world, I know the formula how to be happy. I know the sutra. I know the mantra. I know the what, tantra. So many, all these things, yantra, tantra, mantra, visharada. It is said one is an expert of all these things. But what is the use when one doesn't know how to get out of the material world? We may know expertly how to be successful. I think yesterday we were discussing in Bhakti Vriksha. Does anyone want to again take a birth and go through all the examinations? We don't want, yeah. Hmm? We don't want to go through all that things. So this that is the stringent law of nature. Due to the living entity's ignorance of his eternal blissful life, he becomes attracted to the material activities under the spell of Maya. In this way, he can never experience happiness. Yet he works very hard to do so. And what is this called? This is called Maya. So, yeah, Adres Prabhu, you remember when we were discussing about the stages? What is that? Shraddha, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti. All these are feminine, you said, no? You remember when we were discussing?
Yes, Babuji.
Yeah, prema, bhava, all these things. And Maya is also Prakriti, feminine. So we can see Prabhupada, Yasyam Ive San Naradeva Dasyavaha. So what is happening? Sun is six, Shad, Shat, Shan. These six are very powerful plunderers. Just like he's saying, in this forest of material existence, there are six plunderers. Plunderers means whatever you have, they come and steal them, they take them from you. The six plunderers misguide him. And what is happening? In the forest, there are many plunderers, dacoits, jackals, tigers. The jackals are compared to one's wife and children. Huh? In the dead of night, jackals cry very loudly, and similarly, the wife and children in the house in the material world also cry like jackals. Anyway, this goes further. Instead of spending money for advancing in Krishna consciousness, one spends his hard earned money on clubs, brothels, liquor, slaughterhouses, and so forth. Due to sinful activity, one becomes implicated in the process of transmigration and thus has to accept one body after another. Being thus absorbed in a distressed condition, one never attain happiness. Uh, it's not easy job. We all want happiness, but we are not getting it. Why? Because the material household is actually a whole of fruitive activity. Prabhupada mentions. Even in the midst of these disturbances, one imagines that he is going to construct a grand house and live there permanently, although he knows that he cannot. Gold is compared to a quickly fleeting find, which appears like a meteor in sky. All these things, I mean, these are some general insights to understand that world we are living is such an illusory Maya Jagat. The merchant of the forest, who is that? We. His intelligence, victimized by home, wealth, relatives, and so forth, run from one place to another in search for success. It is said household attraction resides in, yeah, Maitunadi Grahamedi Sukham hi Tucham. It is said. Uh, there is so many verses which tells about family, household life, how one should. There is something called Jyotish Shastra. What say astrological calculations are called Jyotish Shastra because again Jyoti, because the Jyoti or effulgence in the material world comes from different stars and planets. The science is called Jyotish Shastra, the science of illuminary or luminaries. By the calculations of Jyoti, huh, our future is indicated. In other words, all the luminaries, the stars, suns, and moon, witness the activities of the conditioned soul. Thus, he is awarded a particular type of body. A lusty person whose eyes are covered with the dust of whirlwind does not at all consider that his activities are being observed by different stars and planets and are being recorded. So this is the connection. We say, hey, why are the grahas, why are the planets, why are these stars, all these things are affecting my life? Huh? Is it real? If it's real, why? Yeah, it is because they are witnessing what are we doing. So for a Vaishnava, we don't have to worry so much because what they see that we are engaged in devotional service. Because we engage in devotional service, what would they do? Just like if you become a favorite student to your teacher, the teacher will just overlook what we do. Even if we do something wrong, yeah, okay, that he's my pet. Uh, so the stars and planets, they will not affect if we please them. The best way of pleasing them is not just by offering all respects to them. The best is by offering all respects to the Lord. Who is their Lord? To Him. And this is what is mentioned. And then wandering in the forest of material world, the conditioned soul sometimes hears an invisible cricket. Cricket is a small bug. Crickets, yeah, sometimes if you see in Punjab or in many fields, crickets become so big disturbance that they eat away the field within few days. When the crop is ready, when the farmers are happy, if there are crickets, they just make all these not sounds, but they eat up everything. And his ears become very much aggrieved. Sometimes his heart is pained by sound of owls. All these things are given examples to. Huh? Due to being directed by the illusory energy, a conditioned soul suffers in so many ways. Uh, so one cannot see the cricket, but one hears its sound and thus being aggrieved. When one takes to Krishna consciousness, one always hears unpalatable words from relatives. How many of you have this problem? That is the nature of the world. One cannot avoid the mental distress due to the backbiting of envious people. Being very much aggrieved, sometimes one goes to a sinful person for help, but he has no means to help because he has no intelligence. So all these conditions, yeah, we have so many examples in our life. If we are given a chance, we can also write a Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam of our own life, how we have faced life of uh, envious people in our life. Uh, Prabhupada writes in the purport, when one is hot due to scorching sun, one sometimes jump into the river to gain relief. However, if the river is almost dried up and water is too shallow, one may break his bones by jumping. The conditioned soul is always experiencing miserable condition. He is thinking, hey, I get a relief. Let me jump. Sometimes his efforts to get help from friends are exactly like jumping into dry river. By such actions, he does not derive any benefit. He only breaks his bones. Sometimes, suffering from a shortage of food, one may go to a person who is neither able to give charity nor willing to do so. Samsara davanala nida loka. When a man is heavily taxed by the government, he becomes very sad. Heavy taxation obliges one to hide his income, but despite his endeavor, the government agents are often so vigilant and strong that they take away all the money anyway. So we may think I may find a way. No. Kalau Shudraha Sambhava. In this age of Kali, everyone is dependent on another's mercy of maintenance for maintenance of body. So, in this way, the citizens will abandon their attempts to lead a peaceful life and will leave their homes and hearths and go to the forest in sheer disappointment. This is what Bhagavatam is saying in Kali Yuga. The government will put so much taxes that they say, I don't care. If I'm in city, I have to pay city taxes. If I'm using the roads, I have to pay road taxes. If I'm using highways, I have to pay highway taxes. I come on, I will not use anything. Let me go to the forest. Let me, no one will charge anything. Huh? Just like guaranteed, like animals are not taxed. Hmm. So in this way, then there was description about Gandharvapura. Gandharvapuram is very significant in this. So sometimes in the forest, a very big castle appears, and this is called a castle in the air. Actually, this castle doesn't exist anywhere, but it is one's imagination, and that imaginative world that we may dream, right? Oh, I am going to enjoy my life in what is that Khalifa? Burj Khalifa or something, which is the tallest, on the top. Yeah, all this is imagination. Hmm? And in fact, there is this Vidyapati. We come to that in the 11th canto. Very nice. In Avanti Brahmana, in the Avanti Loka or country, there is this Brahmana who gives so nice instructions. It is said, such happiness is described by Vidyapati as the happiness one derives upon seeing a drop of water in the desert. The desert is heated by scorching sunshine, and if we want to reduce the desert temperature, we need huge amount of water, millions and millions of gallons. What effect will one drop have? Water certainly has value, but one drop of water cannot reduce the heat of the desert. In this material world, everyone is ambitious, but the heat is very scorching. Hmm. So, there are many instances in which big businessmen suddenly becomes paupers in the street. Yet the nature of material existence is such that foolish people are attracted to these transactions and they forget the real business of self-realization. So this has been happening. How many of us still have faith that when you become rich, you are happy? Yeah, though we read so many people commit suicide because of depression, because of loneliness, because when you become more and more successful, you don't want to share that success with everyone because you are always fear of losing that. So they become leaders of loneliness. But still we think, oh, yeah, but still there is some happiness. Come on. If he just does that and then servants are there, if he just winks his eye, then there are people who are ready to offer respects to do everything whatever he wants. So I want that life. The same person is feeling I'm sucked here. Anyway. Sometimes the merchant in the forest wants to climb the hills and mountains due to insufficient footwear. What happens is he's also faces inconvenience. In the purport, Prabhupada mentions Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur compares one's family life to high mountains. Family life to high mountains, high life. No. Becoming happy in their association is like a hungry man's endeavoring to climb a mountain full of thorns. Almost 99.9% of the population is unhappy in family life despite all attempts being made to satisfy the family members. Prabhupada gives the example of Western world and all these things. Then there, Prahlad Maharaj simply in the seventh canto says, Tat sadhu manya suravarya dehinam. He is telling to his father, Tat sadhu manya Asura Varna Dehinam, oh, the king, head of all the Asuras, Sada Samadvigna, Dio Asad Grihat, Hitvatma Pakam, Gruhamanda Kupam, Vanam Gato Yad Dharim Ashrayeta. So he says, oh, one must go to the Vrindavan forest and take shelter of Govinda. That will make one happy. So, um, this is what forceful separation we are doing. What is happening if we don't like uh, kautumbika krudyati vai janaya. This is also in this shloka mentioned. When one's mind is disturbed in so many ways, he satisfies himself by becoming angry with his poor wife and children. The wife and children are naturally dependent on the father, but the father, being unable to maintain family properly, becomes mentally distressed. Achinnadhara Dravina Yasyanti Kananam. Uh, Being disgusted with family life, one separates from family by divorce, hmm, or some other means. If one has to separate, why not separate willingly? Systematic separation is better than forced separation. Forced separation can make anyone happy, but mutual consent or by Vedic arrangement, one must separate from his family affairs at a certain age and fully depend on Krishna. This makes one's life successful. Hmm. I'll stop maybe two more verses. And Jada is further telling the conditioned soul in the metal forest is sometimes swallowed by python or crushed. What does that mean? When one becomes unconscious due to his being bitten by a snake, one cannot understand what is taking place outside the body. This unconditioned, this unconscious condition is the condition of deep sleep. Similarly, the conditioned soul is actually sleeping on the lap of illusory energy. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has song, Kota Nidra Yai Maya Pisachira Kole. Jeev Jago, I think. This is coming in that song, I think. Jeev Jago. Kota Nidra Yai Maya Pisachira Kole. Oh living entity, how long will you sleep in this condition on the lap of the illusory energy? Hmm. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Yenechi Aushadhi Maya Nashibhara Laghi Hari Nama Maha Mantra Lao Tumi Magi. He is saying, I have brought the medicine to awaken every living being from a perpetual sleep. Please receive the holy name Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and awaken. And in Katha Upanishad, Uttishta Jagrata Prapya Varan Nibodhata. O living entity, you are sleeping in the material world. Please get up and take advantage of your human form of life. So in that way, there is all different references. And have anyone heard something called what is called Kala Sarpa Dosha? Anyone heard? No, not the meaning, but have anyone heard about Kala Sarpa dosha? For example, there are some temples, especially that hey, if you go there, you do Rahu Ketu Puja or Kala Sarpa dosha. It's very nice. Then you are free from all that. So what it means is the sleeping condition means loss of knowledge. It is said, Ya Nisha Sarva Bhutanam Tasyam Jagarti Samyami. What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self control. Even in the higher planets, everyone is under the spell of illusion energy. No one is really interested in the real values of life. The sleeping condition called Kala Sarpa, the time factor, keeps the conditioned soul in a state of ignorance, and therefore pure consciousness is lost. In this way, all of us have this Kala Sarpa dosha. Why? Because we are sleeping, yeah, sometimes more, which is not good. It said. In the forest, there are many blind wells, and if one falls down in one, there is no chance of being rescued. In a state of sleep, one remains perpetually bitten by some animals, especially snakes. The solution is wake up and take advantage and understand. That's why Jiva Jago comes in. And then going forward, if one is interested in enjoyment, in significant sex enjoyment, one searches after a woman, and this is what happens. Yeah, I came across somewhere it says that men are looking for more women and women are looking for more wealth. And of course, if men can give that wealth, they are ready to marry. If such wealth is not there, then they say, okay. Uh, the more we are in Kali Yuga, the more we can uh, come across such examples where one is asking, hey, how, where are you working? How much are you earning? Of course, come on. We need to maintain, we need to know our safety, right? Can the guy take care of safety? Yes, yes. Only if he has 1 crore per month, or if he has a property of many uh, lands. Only then he is fit. No, come on. Huh? So anyway, unfortunately, the object of sense enjoyment, the woman is taken away or kidnapped by another debauchee. This is what happens. It is said, the Chanakya Pandit says, if the woman is very beautiful, be careful. Yeah. Um, and of course, if a man is rich, the man should be careful. Yeah. Why these are very attractive. I'll stop here if that's okay. We cover 11 from 11 the purports tomorrow. Yeah, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you,
Yes.
Prabhuji. You mentioned that children and wife they are compared as jackal and one more word
Tiger.
you used, tigers. So in what sense it's compared?
Yeah, yeah, basically very
I
demanding.
mean,
That's what it means. It is not like a sadhu jivi that sits and says doing yoga. Okay, if my husband provides food, then only I will eat. Uh, if I have all the facilities, then only I'll enjoy. No, the family is quite demanding, right? The jackals drag the meat. Yeah, they don't wait for that. It's not like a lion. Sometimes we see, right? A lion is really no. Only when it's hungry, then it hunts. That's what we hear. So, but the jackals, they eat on the leftovers of all these, right? They're finding, okay, no quality, no character. Forget about it. More important is enjoyment. I want that. I want this. I want this. I want that. Of course, this doesn't mean that we are talking only wife and children. Yeah? What here it means is the whole family life is demanding. The husband demands something from the wife and kids, and the vice versa. I don't know. Have you seen any National Geographic? I mean, now you don't go and start searching. If you see something, you start seeing how a deer is hunted by a tiger, and the jackals will go there after the tigers leave, and they start dragging the meat and then start eating. Hmm?
yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. What to tell more?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, thank you. I mean, one can experience also.
Hmm. Yeah. Anyone else? Are you able to appreciate Bhagavatam when we get these kind of boosters?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, it's very much significant
Yeah.
about the story of merchant crossing
Yeah.
uh, the forest, which is our material
Yeah,
world.
sometimes we want something, we get something.
Mm.
Isn't it? We want something and then what we get is unimaginable. And yeah, then I think next chapter, anyway, I think by end of the week we'll finish off the 2 chapters, which is full of appreciating the forest life. Yeah, people want to go to forest, right? To enjoy nice forest life. I think yesterday I came across a radio article where um, there's a coach who trains how to be in a forest. Like how to burn wood and come together with like stones, yeah, by hitting stones those days, right? And dry and how to socialize, something like that. Why I was saying this is, yeah, we want always to find ways of how to enjoy, right? And we think, I think I think there was someone who recently went from no from a foreign country. They say India. Yeah, I mean, she actually went to India and she was saying, yeah, I think Europe is quite boring. Yeah, she said, and that's why she is going. Yeah, she says India is a country of dynamic. I think that all these things are gone. So yeah, maybe we know how the dynamic world of India looks like. Too much dynamic, right? So one goes from east to west and from west to east. Uh, I only think left are north and south because of they are these extreme weathers. I think, yeah, polar. Yeah, I don't know. So the world is yeah, we always want to do something else, thinking that is better.
Yes, material challenge attracts people.
Hmm. Yeah, that's nice. People want challenges, right? Go to India, go to a village, enough challenges. Okay, let's stop here. That's okay. And we meet us tomorrow. पञ्चाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। ग्रन्थराज श्रीमद्भागवतम की